Welcome back, this is the Clay Golem, and this is our Foundry VTT series where we are building Stormrock Isle Adventure in Foundry VTT version 11, and we're not using any of the add-ons and stuff. So in the previous videos we've mostly been focusing on Seagrow Caves and the Compass Rose, the shipwreck there, and we've played a lot with different sounds and lighting and things like that. We're now onto Clifftop Observatory. In the previous video we got to a point where we literally put the map in and put the basic effects in, but we hadn't done anything else. We need to add walls in this one. We potentially need to look at lighting. We need to put our monsters and things. Now we've done this a couple of times through the caves and the Compass Rose, and we've done that quite slowly. We should be at a point now where we can do this relatively quickly without taking forever to do it. So maybe we can just sort of crack on and see what happens. Where do we want to start with this? First of all, let's put a couple of journal notes in here. We need to add our areas in, if I can remember how to do that. Create a map note. I'm going to stick this one here. This is going to be D1, so this is reference to the module. So for this purposes, yeah, we talked previously in one of the previous videos about the fact that we can write all of our descriptions and things into journals and have them directly in Foundry VTT. Totally acceptable way to do it. And if I was writing my own stuff, that is absolutely the way I would do it. I've only got VTT to worry about. However, I've got dual screens. When I'm running games, I tend to have both screens. I have my player area, which will be Foundry, and I've also got the module there with other reference material to look at if I need to. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to put these in relatively quickly. Okay, so this text label D1, I'm going to add on that this is the overlook. Okay, brilliant. Update that map note, and as we can see, that sticks it here. I can move it around if I want to. Just hovering over it, it reminds me that that's the overlook, so that I can reference that back to the module itself. Now, the other thing, I haven't done these for a couple of videos, so I just want to check. I don't need a custom icon. I'm happy with the book icon. What I do want to do is to make sure that this is not going to be, they're globally visible. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want the players to be able to see my map notes, because that would be a little bit, that'd be a bit pants, wouldn't it? We're going to put one in here as well. This is for D2. So we just type that in there. In fact, I can type the whole title in here. And this is the Rotunda Ruins. Okay. Nice and easy, not creating a journal entry. Global visibility is off by default, so that's good. I can stick that in. Our next one is up here in this little place here, and this is D3. And what is this? This is the Kobold Camp. So there are kobolds who have switched teams, or potentially have switched teams, and are hanging out in these ruins here. So we're obviously going to have add some kobolds later. Number 4, which is the isolated study. Just double check which one that is. So that is down here, this separate tower. So this is D4 isolated study. Excellent. Slap that in. Again, don't need to do anything. Not putting the journal entries in, as I said. And then we've got Observatory Tower, which is going to be... where are we putting the footnote for this? Yeah, we are putting it here. Yeah, so D5. Oops, got to actually click in the box. D5 Observatory Tower. All right, nice and simple with those. So those are in, correlate directly to that as they move areas. Oh, that's right, D2. I can go straight to the module. I haven't got to try and track them on the other map as well. Just makes my life a little bit easier when I'm running them. Now we do have this tower interior part down here. So when they're looking at this map, we're going to want to make sure that they can't see inside this part. So the first thing I'm going to do to make that a thing is I am going to, in fact, can I do a square wall? I'm just wondering if you can draw automatically a square wall. Perhaps not quite that easy. That's fine. Doesn't matter, just wondered, just because we're here learning. So hold down Control again so I get my continual walls. And what this means is that when the players are looking at this map, they won't be able to see this area of the map no matter where they stand unless they're in the tower itself. So no light's going to penetrate there, so if we move our character in there, that's automatically going to be dark, and things like that. And of course, we're check lighting and everything as we go. We definitely got some walls for other places though, so we can draw those in. Now what is going to be quite important to note is whether these walls are, whether we can see over these walls. So if we look at this piece here, can players see over these walls, or are they completely blocking? So some of them are going to be really obvious. So just having a little scroll through the module that I've again got on my other screen because that makes my life easier. It talks about the built a series of basalt spires jutting out from the ocean. Almost all the structure's former ceilings and walls have crumbled away, exposing the ruins to the open air. Unless otherwise noted, the ruins stand 30 feet above the ocean's surface. Rugged cliffs offer abundant hand and foothold, so characters who jump or fall into the water and survive can climb back up. And it says they don't need an ability check. I would probably, as a DM, depending on what they're wearing, if they're a knight wearing full plate mail armor, I might make them. I might make that slightly more difficult than automatic, bearing in mind that they may well drown as well. They're going to sink like a stone. Okay, approaching by land, that's all fine. Let's look at these individual areas. So the overlook itself, this is just talking about this is broken terrain around the edges here. The end of last video, we kind of had this bit of a quandary. What do we do about these magic bridges that appear at certain times, and whether we should wall them off? Just having a little think about it, I think that's just adding complexity where it's not needed. Players will be able to see that, and as long as we're describing what they can see, and the fact that we're explaining that that you can't walk on this area at this point, I think that's probably going to be enough. I don't think we need to spend hours and hours doing special effects where it's not adding huge amounts of value. That's the way I would take that. So this talks about the fact that there are these statues, small hexagonal indentations. So this is these stars here. So we're talking about this area over here, and we're talking about these two pillars here. And they're perfectly sized to accept the moonstone key that they get previous to coming to this area. When it's inserted in the base of either statue, magical light sparks to life from both statues open their mouths, and this shimmering bridge made of iridescent magical energy extends from the overlook. So it might be that we can put something that we might put a light effect or something like that. So what about if we draw some walls that show the outside of this bridge? Let's if we double click on them, we can change them. Movement restriction, let's say no, they can walk off of them. Light restriction, let's say yes. No sight restriction, no sound restriction. So the only thing this is going to block is light. So there's a reason I'm doing this, and hopefully that will become clear, and this might be a nice way of doing it. We're not going to put doors on it, and wall direction both. Let's make this a one-way, which is left, which is right. I'm going to have to put my light effect in to make sure I've got this the right way around. I know it's got the little arrow. So I'm going to put a light, a new light in here that I want to pretty much be the size of this bridge. And then I'm going to choose some kind of, let's make that, a double left click it, there we go. I might get rid of the bright, just make it dim. Let's make that 18. Okay, and we can pick things like a light animation. Maybe a fairy light or something like that. Can we pick a colour? We can pick a blue. So a bit like the blue that's already there. We can do that. Okay, so I'm wondering how much does that look like a magical bridge? So we could turn this light on to show that that bridge is there. I think we'll do that. Now we can see that this top wall is not blocking the light. The bottom one is. So if I go back to my walls and click on this. We've got this as a one-way wall. I've clearly got to select the right wall. There we go. I've clearly got it the wrong way round. Wall direction right. Update that wall. That hasn't done it yet. I wonder if we need to, because we want to restrict light but not sight. Okay, let's do the other one. So movement restriction, none. Sight restriction, none. Normal light. Don't restrict sound. Wall direction left. Let's see if... There we go. It's updated. So if I just come off of here and select my character, when that light is on, we've now got this shimmering bridge to illustrate the fact that they can walk across it. I might make that slightly more intense. But it's not bleeding over either side, and also any light from outside will be able to come across. So whether that light's on or off, it's still going to look like it's in darkness. I think that's quite a nice way to show that that bridge is a magical bridge that they can now walk across. Yeah, I quite like that. I think that's good. So let's tweak this a bit. Let's see if we can make this color intensity, perhaps. Put that up a bit. Yeah, that's good. I think that's better. Yeah, lovely. And of course we could if we wanted to. So when that bridge isn't active, we just turn it off. When they insert that key, we can just turn it on. That simple. Yep, I think that's going to work very well. Now there is another one of these down here as well that does a very similar thing. So I'm going to basically repeat that process. I'm going to put... Thank you. Oh, hang on, let me draw that bigger. I'm going to put another light in that roughly covers from the lip to the lip there. Now just, what did I choose for the animation? I chose fairy lights. Seems to be one of my favorites. Seems to work well for this. We can choose fairy lights. Again, I'm going to choose that a bluish color. Maybe slightly darker. Put up the intensity a little bit. And again, there we go. We've got our magical bridge that they can cross, but we haven't put the walls in. So let's put the walls in. So if we draw from the bottom to the top and do that, and now we make that none, light restriction yes, sight no, sound no, and one direction which will be left. Is that going to block in the correct direction, or do it need to be the other way? Let's draw this end in here. And again, we don't want to block movement because I'm happy for them to fall off if they want to. Block sight, no. Block sound, no. Direction left. But by doing them both left, I've drawn one up and the other one down. One of them will be right, one of them will be wrong. Oh, actually, from that way, they might both be wrong. Okay, so how do I get that to update? So I think I've drawn them both wrong, which is fantastic. That's all right. Just double click. Change that one to right. Change that one to right. Update. There we go. Right, so just turning the light off and on again will do that. So again, if we select our character, we can see that that bridge is now glowing, and just like the other one, we can just turn that off when that's not active, so our characters haven't crossed it yet. So I think that works quite well to solve that problem, just using light and just using those walls to block that light to stop it from bleeding out elsewhere. I think that's perfectly acceptable. That's all we need to do for that. It does add that effect for us. And when they first use it, it will suddenly, oh right, okay, now we can see it's a shimmering bridge. As I mentioned before, it's a bit of a shame that they draw this actually on the map. I want to use the resources that come with this module. I don't want to just start making up lots of my own resources. I know I've replaced some of the monster tokens, monster images, but I don't want to go mad with that. If I wanted to be really pedantic, I would find or draw another version of this map without that, because I'm just not a fan of it kind of giving away that that's where the bridge will appear. But remember, this is also designed for new players and new DMs, so they are holding your hand a bit more than perhaps more advanced players would want or appreciate. But let's leave it with that, that's fine. Okay, anything else we need to do about this area D1, the overlook? The answer seems to be no. It's pretty much straightforward. With this central part, what have we got here? We've got 2 winged kobolds are going to be here. So broken stone lies this plaza, fragments of elegant statues, once magnificent pillars and shining marble walls. At the centre of the a tall sculpture of rusted planets and gilded stars spins idly in a jerky mimicry of celestial motion. So that's this astroglabe in the middle here. A gnarled screech suddenly rises from across the plaza, and half a dozen bat-like creatures are swarming around 2 winged kobolds, with blue paint smeared across their long snouts. The goblins are fighting fiercely, but they seem close to being overwhelmed. So we've got 2 winged kobolds who are locked in battle with 8 sturges. So we need to add some creatures on here. All right, so have we created kobolds yet? No, we haven't. Did I put any in NPCs? No, I didn't. So that's fine. We haven't got those yet. That's easy though. So we're going to go up to the top right and go to our compendium packs. We're looking at SRD content, looking at our monsters and click on there. That brings up our menu over the other side, and we can simply type in kobolds. And they're such a common creature that we can do that and just bring them up straight away. Now again, I don't want to drag them straight on the map. What I want to do is drag them over to this side. So I've got this master token over here that I can update if I want to. So this I'm going to change to be winged kobold. Okay. So I'm going to have winged kobolds in there, and I'm going to drag this across again, and I'm going to have normal kobolds. So now I've got this as a template to put out winged kobolds whenever I want to. Now, before I go too much further and start dropping them into the world, what I do want to do is just check their stat blocks to make sure that these winged kobolds match with what we want. I wonder if I was smart enough ahead of time to pull out an image to use to make it easier to see the difference between our winged kobolds and our other kobolds. So just bear with me one moment, just looking in the other thing here. I did download a whole bunch of them. I did bring down a kobold image that I would rather use instead of this one, but not a winged kobold. So I'm going to leave this as it is for the moment. I'm not going to waste your time you watching me while I Google and find images. How dull is that? So these are winged kobolds. We know that they're going to have an armor class of 13. So we can just update that, easy peasy. And remember, we're updating the monster over in our monster list. So every time we drop a token for a winged kobold, they will all have this armor class of 13. These guys also have 7 hit points, so we can do that. Their speed is 30, absolutely, and they also have a fly speed of 30, which obviously makes the difference. So you can see that's added in fly 30 there as well, so we know that these pesky little creatures can fly. 17, they've got a 16 dexterity. They're a little bit more nippy than their other cousins. 7, 7, 8, that all remains the same. They have dark vision 60 foot, that's already in there, of course. They speak Common and Draconic. Yep, brilliant. Those languages are all in there. They have a CR of a quarter. So they're worth 50 XP each. Slightly more than normal kobolds, which is fine. Proficiency bonus of 2, which is already in there. Again, no drama with that at all. Under features, we should have sunlight sensitivity and we've got pack tactics as well. So the good thing is, because these are monsters from the SRD, this stuff's already built. We don't need to do that, unlike we had to do with the myconoids, where we built them ourselves. These guys are armed with a dagger, brilliant, and they have an attack called Dropped Rock. So that's different from, instead, they don't carry slings, these guys. So we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to add a new attack, which we're going to edit. And this is called Dropped Rock. I think we can probably guess what what that entails from a flying creature. So Dropped Rock is a ranged weapon attack. So it's not a natural weapon, is it? So let's just call it I think it's fair to say it's a simple ranged attack. It's dropping a rock. It's not that difficult. Attunement not required, proficiency, yeah, automatically proficient. Does any of these apply at all? Probably not. We could say thrown. It's the equivalent of thrown, so we can tick that on. Activation cost is going to be 1 action, just like a lot of fairly standard attacks. Let's just scroll that up a bit. Target is going to be a creature, a 1 creature. Let me just check. Yes, so that is a 1 creature thing. They're not throwing boulders or anything like that. It literally is 1 rock dropped on 1 creature. Range, we don't need to worry about range because it will be however high they are. But the stat block gives us their damage, which is a flat damage regardless of how high they are when they drop it. So we can keep that nice and simple, whether they are 10 foot, 20 foot above, keep the damage the same because it's based on the size of that rock. They're assuming that rock's going to reach its terminal velocity. That's okay. We don't need to get that complicated. So we don't really need to worry about range. No duration, limited uses, no. It doesn't suggest that. But we do need a weapon attack. It's a ranged weapon attack. Ability modifier, so they get a +5 to hit because it's based off of dexterity. So they're going to have that +3 from dexterity and the +2 proficiency bonus. No extra tech roll. Crit on a 20, yes, it lands right in your eye or something. And we need to add in the damage formula. In fact, we're not going to need to run in the damage formula here. Or rather, we're not going to have to mod it. It's just a flat 1d6 +3 for this. And it... Oops, don't know what happened there. Foundry just had a little panic. So that's going to be d6 +3 bludgeoning damage. No saving throw or anything like that. We don't have to worry about chat message. I know we did before. So that should be all good. Close that. We now have this ability dropped rock that they can use. Yeah, I don't know what happened to my map in the background. It's gone black. I'm sure it will come back any second. All right, so let's close that. Let's see if we can change scene. There we go. It seems to have brought this back. Let's close the monster SRD. Yeah, it's a bit... Yeah, that was a bit weird. Don't know why it did that in the background, but that's fine. So we now got our winged kobolds that we're quite happy with. And in this central area, there were 2 of them. So we can drop this one here. And we can drop this one here as well. And they were in battle with 8 sturges. Now we've used sturges before, so we can simply drop these straight onto the map. Move them a little bit closer as they're actually supposed to be in combat. Going to put that one there. Yep, so they want a total of 8 of them. So the idea of this particular encounter is the players have a choice. They can sit back and watch and see what happens, see who wins. They could attack the sturges and help the kobolds. They could attack the kobolds and then take out the sturges. It's entirely up to the players what they do here. Obviously, we want to be careful as DMs not to lead our players in one direction or another. Let them decide. The module doesn't matter what they do here. It doesn't impact their ability to complete. Okay. So it does say, once the sturges have been defeated, if the kobolds survive, they approach the characters. They can talk to them. These kobolds have names. They are Mech and Min. So if I just double click on this one. No, I want to right click on this one. So I'm going to change this to say this is going to be kobold. Was it Min? M-I-N, I think it was. Just check that. Where did I read that? It was only a moment ago. Mech and Min with a double N. So that's going to be Kobold Min. So if I hover over it, it tells me it's Kobold Min. And this one is going to be Kobold Mech, I think it wasn't it? M-E-K. Nice and easy. The fact it's put the token as hostile, they might be hostile, they might not be. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference for us. We can still add them to combat. We can still fight them even if we've got them set as neutral. So, and we can obviously still engage and roleplay with them if they're set as hostile. All right. So, potentially a bit of role-playing there. We don't need to do anything for that. If the characters actively help the kobolds, etc., etc., etc. They can talk about how characters get to oh, sorry. Ah, right. So the idea is that potentially you could get help from the kobolds if you rescue them, because they have the ability to fly back over the magic bridge, retrieve the key, and bring it back again, so that the player characters can then activate the second bridge and go and investigate the isolated study. So that's useful. You can use them for that. That's kind of like your little reward, puzzle solving, if you help the kobolds. So that's got this sculpture thing in the middle here, this astrolabe thing. It's an astronomical model used for research, depicts the world, etc. Character who studies it can puzzle out, etc., etc. No particular use there. Dragon effigies is something about here. The Sturge attack interrupts kobolds from their assigned task of preparing this site for Spark Render's ritual. Okay, so with the Wormlings' help, they have crudely sculpted 5 chunks of rubble into vaguely draconic shapes and splashed each one with paint, and the kobolds were in the process of arranging them around the metal structure. So we could find some icons and drop them on to represent those if we wanted to. I'm not really worried about that, to be perfectly honest. But that's about it. That's about it for this area, D2. That's done. So the next area is the D3, which is the camp up here. Let's have a little look at this. A rickety bridge, as we can see here, made of driftwood and rope, spans the 15-foot gap. And this structure, skittering sounds and whispers come from inside the ruined tower. So 3 kobolds and 2 winged kobolds currently inhabit this camp, polishing sling bullets and keeping busy until it's time for Spark Render's ritual. Initially they are hostile towards the characters, determined to scare off intruders. They're susceptible to intimidation though, they are only kobolds. As an action, a character can make a... yeah, exactly. So there's not an awful lot of interest here apart from the fact that we've got these kobolds. So there are 2 winged kobolds. So we can slap one down there and one over here. And there are some normal kobolds too. Let's put 1, 2, 3. In fact, I'm going to put all of these kobolds inside the tower here. If we've got winged kobolds or any other kobolds out here, if we get into a fight, these kobolds logically are going to go and help join in, which potentially first level players could cause a problem if they end up fighting Sturges and all of these kobolds, especially as you've got 2 flying ones there and 2 flying ones up here. That could be a problem. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, which I've just realised. I'm going to get rid of these kobolds because I just realised I couldn't tell which ones were winged or not. I'm going to go back to my my actors over here and look at these kobolds, and I'm going to update so the prototype token I'm going to change, but first of all I'm going to update this image, and I'm going to go into my... it's called Shipwreck Isle because I botched it at the beginning. I'm going to go to my token images and I'm going to choose a new one, and I'm going to select this other kobold picture here. Okay, so these look different from the other ones now, from the winged ones, which is great. Happy with all our stats because that's the default kobold. So now when I put out these winged ones, there we go. I'm going to put that one there. Assume he can fly out if he wants to. Okay, because the image has changed, it hasn't changed the token. So let me just check how we do that. Prototype token, appearance, image path. That's the one that's showing the previous kobold one. So I need to change that so the token image is different, as well as the as well as the picture in the over here in the actors. That's the one. So I'm going to go to my token images. I already uploaded my other kobold one. Select that, update my token, get rid of that. Get rid of that one that's wrong. Now, in theory, when I drop this, hooray, it's got the correct token. There we go. So there's a few little things like that, a little bit fiddly, but as you saw, that's really easy to do. You just kind of, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. You can just go back and do it. I just deleted the ones I'd put, updated the kobolds with their images, updated the tokens, slap them back on, no problem at all. Now for here, we haven't got walls. So if we look at this, you come across the bridge, there's this little area here that it would be perfectly plausible to put some in. You go up some steps and into this area. I do want to add walls here. So, whoops, add some new walls. Why doesn't it want me to add walls? There we go. Hello, what's going on? Something's not right, is it? Does it have that little blip? See if we can change scene. Will that help? Yeah, I've not had that before. Right. So, can I select this character now? Seems to got stuck on an option. Yeah, something's got. I've not encountered any issues with Foundry at all. I think when that screen went black was the thing. So, as you can see, I've just pressed escape and it brings up this little menu. I wonder if I can just reload application and it fixes that. So back to our Clifftop Observatory. There we go. That's better. So it's brought us back to life. And as you can see, it's automatically put these bars on. Just want to double check. Display name went over by owner, appearance, resources. Always for owner. So if you remember, we talked about that with the in the Seagrow cave. We want to be able to see the bars. It helps us see our monsters a bit easier, gives us this idea. I would probably want to keep them as hit points, but I don't want the players to be able to see that. I don't want the players going, oh, well, they're only quarter damaged, because it gives them a bit too much of a mechanics idea rather than describing injuries. Okay, so good. They're all on there still. Haven't lost anything. We can select our character and move them around. That's interesting. That journal entry appears to be creating blocking light for us, which is a bit odd. We'll sort that out. We'll worry about that later. I suspect that doesn't happen for the player characters. Yeah, we got some stuff. Right, so if we look, oh, it's because look at these walls. It was drawing the walls. It was just doing them in weird places. Okay, so get rid of those walls. That will solve that problem. And here's the wall that we had started to draw in the right place. We just couldn't see it. So we're going to put that wall in there. I'm going to put a new wall in here. Going to move you out the way and you out the way just for the moment so I can see these walls a bit better. So I'm going to draw from here. Hold down Control, wasn't it? Yes, it was. So I can build these walls in. Let go of Control for that first one and it locks back in, which is good. Bring these critters back in where they should be. I left this gap at this corner because I figure it's crumbled down and stuff. No reason why the winged ones can't fly in and out using that. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Just want to check these should all be back to defaults with blocking everything, which is good. So again, if we just want to be careful, we can use this. We can't see any kobolds. Oh, we can if we're over here. We can see that one. I might move that one in a bit so it's not so obvious. We can cross over the bridge here. We can go up here. I'm treating these walls as low enough that you can see over, and it's not until you come up the stairs that you can see these kobolds actually in the tower here. Okay, so that's kind of what I want with that. And yeah, getting rid of those walls has sorted out that problem. So the only thing I want to do is get off of that thing. Is I'm going to move. Whoop, I'm not. I'm going to move him. There we go. I'm going to move that one in there. I think I'm going to move the journal entry if I can. Oh no, I'm on the wrong thing. I'm going to move you in. Go to the journal entry. Can I move this one over here? Yeah, just so it's not in the way. Just a bit of a fiddling. That way the journal entry is not going to get in the way of other things like that, and I can see that. So those kobolds are going to be in there, as it said, polishing stones and things. Okay, so anything we need here, polishing sling bullets, keeping busy, they're not really doing anything. We can pretty much ignore them, which is good. Right, next we want to look at the isolated study. On this area, just popping back to this central area, this D2, the Rotunda ruins, we didn't put any walls in at all. Again, I am going with the assumption that you can see over these walls. They're going to be a couple of foot high. I'm happy for people, they're not going to block light or sound or anything like that, and characters can easily climb over them if they wanted to leap into the sea. So I'm going to leave those without walls. This area down here, D4, the isolated study, might be different. So no bridge spans the 22-foot gap between the rotunda and this spire. We know that it's one of the magical bridges, and we've already put that in place. It says about the rhythm of the waves below echo through this cramped tower. Part of the floor has crumbled away, dropping off into a chamber below. So this is a very simple kind of encounter for us. I'm going to put some walls in around this tower. So again, characters can't look into here without actually coming across. Can they view a certain amount from over here? Yeah, they can. They can see into the tower, but they're not going to be able to see any detail and search it or anything like that. And actually, the goodies are, you can see that there's basically the floor has fallen away here, and the goodies that they might want to access are down there. So amid the rubble, collapsed bookcases jut out at odd angles, and mouldering books are strewn across the floor. So what do they actually have in here? The Scholar's Journal. Characters cast detect magic, etc. There's no monsters, there's no creatures or anything. There's just basically some loot. So we don't need to do anything here either. That's it. That one's done. Now, what I want to do with this particular module is I currently have a group who are completing the Lost Mines of Phandelver. And if you're familiar with the newer version of that, which is the obelisk below as well, which is another step, I want my characters to move away from that town, go do something else before going back into that next chapter of the obelisk. So one of the things I want them to do after they have discovered and cleared and successfully relocated the Forge of Souls in Wave Echo Cave, I want them to go on a next quest where they need to retrieve something that will help start that forge off again. So in my campaign, I'm planning to send them here next, and they're going to retrieve something from here that is a magical artifact. It's guarded by dragons, makes perfect sense, that is going to help them do that. And this is exactly where I plan for them to have to come to get it. They're going to find that book and they're going to find that item. So I won't be running this particular module for first level characters. I'm expecting mine to be about 4th, 5th level when they come here. Obviously I will boost all of the monsters. I will change out some of these. Some of these kobolds might actually become like the winged kobolds might become more dragonlings and things like that. But this is the first level adventure designed for most first level players, so I want to keep this pure for this purpose. But once everything's in place, it's really easy just to swap out the monsters or put more in and upgrade those kind of things if I want to. Okay, so we've gone that one as well. So the next one is the Observatory Tower, and obviously we've got the tower interior here. So let's have a quick read. Standing taller than the rest of the observatory, the main floor of this tower is 45 feet above the ocean surface, which puts it 15 foot above the rest of the rotunda down here. Okay, so we're definitely going to have some walls. We definitely need to put some walls in here, so let's start there. Now you notice there doesn't appear to be a door on here. It's a ruin, it's collapsed, fallen away, whatever it might be. But we certainly don't want anybody, they come by boat and can see the interior of the tower. Doesn't make an awful lot of sense, does it? So let's make sure we wall off appropriately the outside of that tower. So what is in here, if anything? Rays of light dance across the remains of this tower's stained glass dome. So we've got a stained glass dome over the top of the tower interior. So this is going to be ground floor. And then this is the floor above. So there is going to be this dome over here. Let's put walls in, because we know we're going to want walls. Let's put the walls in around here. Make sure that... I know we put walls around this whole box, but that's to stop players seeing that there is a kind of a box here. It's just going to be blank. So we can put walls around there if we like to, which is great. I am going to put another wall in. Don't want to do that. Just want to put, that's it. I can drag an extra one out. I'm going to put a wall in across this rubble bit, just to stop them from kind of being able to see out into nothing. But we need to put a dome over this. So how are we going to do that? So it says, just reading that again, rays of light dance across the remains of this tower's stained glass dome. So it's a stained glass dome, and it's rays of light dancing across it. So we can just put light in here. We can choose a light animation. What about sunburst? Is probably not going to be right. Making iridescent colours shimmer across the crumbled marble walls. Flickering light. Yeah, so we want to pick something here that is going to make sense. Let's go back to this and pick, give it an actual colour. That will help. Well, that looks pretty darn intense to me. We want to turn that intensity down significantly, I would think. Oh, that's the animation intensity, sorry. I think we turn down the speed. Probably almost completely. Turn down the animation intensity. What we want to do is turn down this color intensity on this light as well. It's not looking particularly dim by comparison, is it? Why is that? Constrained by walls, yes. Provides vision, let's say it... additional source of vision for control tokens, I would say. Oh, I see what you mean. No, we can't see through it. It's not a scrying device. Saturation, we turn saturation down. No, that's not the one. Luminosity. There we go. Ugh. Don't want to go negative. We can just turn that down a bit. That's a bit better. We turn the contrast down a bit. Saturation down a little bit. Some of these, it's just kind of, what does attenuation do to it? Attenuation, I think that's a bit better. We keep that a bit darker. Let's update that light source and see. Where's our character? Let's grab our character, come and dump them over here. See what it looks like when they're in here. Is that ridiculous enough? It's quite bright, isn't it? I think that's still too bright. That's the colour intensity. I really want the whole... I know what we'd... Oh, look. If we make it dim 30, bright 0, that will make a difference. Okay, that will make a difference. And then when our character's in here... Yeah, it's still intense. We still need to fiddle with that a bit. We want to turn down that intensity. It's quite full on. It's right in the face. Not emission angle, not rotation, color intensity. I mean, we can't go much lower than that without turning off color intensity. See, sometimes it's just about fiddling with these things to get it right. Is that luminosity? So if we go negative luminosity, obviously it just... coloration might be something to do with that. I'm not playing with that stuff, don't know what that means. Yeah, saturation, we can keep that quite low. Hopefully that's a little bit better. I mean, we could just use normal light here instead of worrying about it. Also, we need to be careful of the idea that we've got rain on this map and then we've got a rainbow lit dome. We just need to bear in mind that that doesn't necessarily make sense. Okay, right. Let's move on. Might tweak that later on. Let's not spend forever doing that. Okay, so rays of light dance across the remains of this tower. Gilded lines and jeweled inlays form a detailed star map spanning the dusty floor. Again, we don't necessarily need to put all of this detail in here. What we do know is Spark Render, the blue dragon wormling, is currently sleeping here, curled up in the northeast corner. So that's going to be over here. Alright, so while we put a wall in there, actually that is open to the sky. There we have to see that looking this way. Now I just want to check, because this is upstairs. And it's talking about spark render, but it doesn't make it clear whether they are... Oh, I see. Right. So actually what we've got is we need our journal. This is D5. This over here, I didn't include it. That's the problem. This over here is a totally separate area. So this is D6, which is called what? So I missed this one off. That's what's causing slight confusion. This is also the problem when you're trying to follow somebody else's. So this is the secret library. All right, so I realise the mistake I have made. I've made loads. And the mistake I've made this time is this is the top of the tower. This is the secret library. This tower interior is the secret library. This is downstairs. So this light isn't going to be up there at all. This light is actually for the main room. Okay, it's still way too intense. I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to describe that light because that's actually annoying me. So this down here, this is downstairs from the secret library by the sounds of it, because it's talking about the dome ceiling over this area up here. So let's focus on this area and get this right. Okay, so it talks about the fact that we have the blue dragon wormling spark render. So we go back to our actors. I need to drag my kobolds into I'm going to drop them into monsters because that's, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But here I can see I've got a blue dragon wormling, so I can come and drop this guy onto the map, and you can see he's quite big. Now again, I'm not a fan of using this icon. If I choose to update this icon to my blue dragon that I've got here, you'll notice it's got a white border, so it's not going to look great. So let's do that. Let's just show you what that looks like. It's not going to be great, I promise. Okay, I haven't got one. I assumed I'd uploaded it. That's fine. We can pick it. If I pick that, say use this as my token as well. It hasn't done it. Why not? What did I did the wrong thing. It's this one. Appearance. Pick the token from here. And I don't want to use that one. Oops. Tokens, Bloom Dragon Wormling, use that one. So if I update, it's not right, is it? It's terrible. So one of the add-ons that we will look at, not going to right now. Actually, can I just tell that to use the default? Nope. So I'm going to close that because I only changed it for this one. I didn't change the one up here. If I drag that back in, it's going to give me the wrong one. So one of the add-ons we will look at is a thing called Tokenizer that makes it much easier for us to make better looking tokens that we want to use. But again, we're not doing add-ons yet. What we might do is, once we've done all this, what we might do is look at a couple of those add-ons like Tokenizer and go, right, what do we really not like? How can we fix these? And just go through, fix our tokens, and then bring the new ones in, and do that kind of as one video, just to show you how that works and why Tokenizer can be very useful. But it is not critical to play the game, so we want to keep it simple for now. All right, so Blue Dragon Wormling, currently sleeping here, curled up against the northeast wall. Important choice: wake the dragon and fight him, or sneak past and find their way into the secret library below. So, secret library, and free Adron. And then fight Spark Render with Adron's help. Either approach is fine, etc. You don't need to encourage a course of action. So is there anything else we need to pop in here apart from Spark Render? Waken the dragon despite his youth, blah, 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 blah. Hidden entrance. Each of the 4 statues can be rotated on its base. Okay, so these 4 statues here. Rotate on the base to unlock the hidden entrance in the Observatory's secret archive. Each statue must be rotated so it points at the constellation called the Dragon of Dawn on the floor's star map. How interesting. If the characters found the clue in the isolated study down, that's D4, that's this area down here. If they found a clue there, that's going to help them. Excuse me. Then that's going to help them. In lieu of that information, they can search the room for clues, etc. Go all a bit Scooby-Doo. split up and search for clues. If each statue's semicircular section of the floor begins to glow before descending into the library. So the idea is this hemisphere here will lower down once the statues are pointing in the right direction. They lower down to reveal this staircase here. Okay, that's fine. So it talks about some treasure here, etc., but nothing else for us to do. Just check we did do the walls around here. Yes, good, we did. All right, so that's that bit done. So let's go to area D6, the secret library, and see what this has got. So the space was formerly a hidden archive of knowledge, accessible only to those who knew the observatory secrets. However, the walls of the tower are crumbling, a fact the spark render used to trap Adron here. After weakening from the dragon, blah, 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 blah. So what is actually here, though? Stale air, heavy with the smell of old parchment. What I'm looking for, because description of smells are great and we want to use those, but they're not something we can put into Foundry, of course. What we're looking for is where it says, oh, there's a light over here, or this is glowing, or there's this sound coming from this place. That's what we want to see, and then make a judgment call of whether it's worth, and if it adds anything, to put that onto our Foundry map to enhance players' experience. If it's not enhancing players' experience or making the DM's job easier, why would we bother? You know, it's just no call for it. So it talks about the sound of splintering wood echoes through the space, and a moment later you see an agitated bronze dragon the size of a bear picking himself up. So this is the bronze dragon wormling. So we need to, again, I've got my bronze dragon wormling in my monster thing. I can pop this in over here. So we've got this, and we know that this is it Adron? Whatever his name is. Yeah, Adron. So we've got that in there. We can dump that in. Do we want to put in the sounds of the cracking wood? We could do. The only problem is then as we're partway reading that, we've then got to go click to play that sound because it's a one-off sound. For me, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to describe it. That's absolutely fine. Anything else in here? No, it's eager to escape. If the characters ask it, we explain blah, 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 role play, role play, role play. And it talks about treasure in here. And again, we don't need to put that onto the map, so that's all good. It talks about doing a ritual. To stop the ritual, they must face spark render. Blah, 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 blah. Freeing, disrupting the ritual. That's all roleplay stuff. So actually, that's it. We're done. Now, there is one definite thing I'm going to do, and some of you might already be thinking, blimey, you haven't done that yet, is we haven't put any sounds on this at all. So there is definitely a sound I do want to put on. One of the ambient sounds. Let's chuck it in here. Now, you might remember this from before when we looked at this. I don't want image tokens. I want sounds. And we had some beach waves that was kind of like lapping water and stuff like that. So we might want to put that on here because, yeah, we're surrounded by water. Makes sense, doesn't it? What I do want is for it not to be constrained by walls. So anywhere the players are here, wherever their characters are, they're going to be able to hear that water. So we can turn off constrained by walls. We found last time when we were doing the shipwreck of the Compass Rose, and that should work. So if we grab our person here, we should find that, yes, we can't see through that tower. We can't see through that one. And if I'm quiet for a second, we can hear the lapping of water. Now, what I did notice listening to one of my videos going back a bit is the volume of that water sound was really quite high compared. I could hear it on the video sounding much, much louder than it could when I put it down. So one of the things we need to be really, really careful of is if we have the sounds too loud on the map, they might sound fine to us because we might have our computer volume down quite a low when we do it, but then when the players join, it's quite loud. If they turn their own computer volume down, they can't then hear the other players. So that might require a little bit of testing just to make sure we've got those right. So for this, I'm going to leave that as a default volume, not put it up like I did last time. And hopefully that's okay. But this map is, I think this map is ready to go. We've got our character. We've got our magical bridges. Only one of them, there's only one key, so only one of them will be active at a time. But we've got our magical bridges. We can walk across here, deal with these guys that we should be able to see. They're all flying creatures. We should be able to see them from pretty much anywhere. We can cross over here and encounter these other kobolds. And of course, these kobolds might move out of their tower if they hear a big, a big lot of noise, a big problem. If we manage to activate that bridge, we can move over here. I've hid my character here. Players won't be able to see their journal entry, so they won't accidentally be able to do what I just did. And hide behind it. And we should be able to walk into the tower here. There's the dragon, etc. And then if they manage to find that secret bit, we can just kind of transport them over here. And yeah, they can see this dragon. As soon as they enter this, we can read that description about them encountering this other bronze dragon wormling down there. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm happy with this. So very nearly the end of this video, but what I do want to do, bearing in mind that we talked about some of those sounds and stuff, is I do want to, while we're here, I don't think we put them on here. I think that was fine. Sea Grow Caves. I do just want to check some of these sounds and see how much ridiculous volume I may have put on some of these. So some of these I think are going to be okay, a bit louder. I think some of these I need to be really careful that they're not. I will leave this one reasonably loud, because if you're in a chamber with all that running water, that is going to be potentially a big issue. Okay, happy to leave those. I want to turn that water should be on all the time. I want to leave that dripping on. Those and those should be on all the time. I've turned those off before. Just want to make sure those are on. And what I would recommend is before you start actually playing a session, all of the scenes you think they're going to be doing, just go and check that you haven't left something switched off like that. This is the one that I think might be a problem, where we slapped in. Now we slapped in the beach sounds here, and we put that up quite loud. So I am definitely going to turn that down a bit so that it is background noise rather than being too intrusive. It needs to add atmosphere, not drive everybody bonkers. I've got the seagulls are relatively quiet, so hopefully where did I put my character? Just over here. Yeah, that might still be too loud. It might be. So I'm going to again just going to tweak that. No, that'll be fine. I will need to test it though with my players, or with at least with one other person logging in to check that that's going to work the way I wanted. Remember, this was the one where we can just turn off our seagulls when our harpy comes back. All right, so one session, we've managed to do the whole of the Clifftop Observatory much quicker than the other areas because we're getting more expertise at it now. Which means we've only got one area left to do, which we haven't even created, which is the start-off village that's going to have quite a few NPCs in it. So in the next video, that's what we're going to do. We're going to throw that together. Shouldn't be too difficult. We might put some sounds in around some, busy town kind of sounds, although it's not particularly big town. We need to throw in our NPCs, some lighting and things like that. Should be all good. Obviously for this area, when it comes to lighting, there wasn't any extra lighting we needed to do at all, so we've kind of left that as it is. If they arrive in daytime, great, good luck, you can see everything unless you're indoors. If they arrive at night time, we're going to use this this ability to make it dark by clicking this, and then they're going to be in trouble for being able to see. The only thing they're going to be able to see is when those bridges are alight. So that's all good. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you watching this video. I would appreciate it also if you could leave a like on the video. Please leave a comment, and obviously subscribe for more when we come back to complete this module fairly soon. Thank you very much. Take care. See you next time.